Okay, so moving on, guys. I want to just one of the things that we did last week was which was really popular. I talked about well, I answered one of the questions about anxiety and sort of mental health, and we had quite a lot of feedback from people who had watched that video. It's probably our most watched video that we did from last week's questions, and I just wanted to give you a quick 5 top tips of how to sort of beat anxiety, because it is one of these things that's becoming more and more prevalent in today's life, really, I suppose. And it's having battled with it myself, that I found a number of things that really, really help. And I'll just walk you through my sort of top 5 list. Number one, this is actually something I did in the last week. It was a day last week when things were getting a little bit on top of me. I had an awful lot of things going on. I have an awful lot of projects going on in the background that require an awful lot of mental energy. And sometimes I'm sitting at my desk and I just feel really uptight. And so one of the things I do is I just get out there into nature and I just walk in nature. I have there's a little reservoir nearby where we live. There's nice bits of woodland around there. I just take the dog, throw the dog in the car. We head down to the reservoir. We take a walk around, and I can guarantee within about 15 minutes, breathing that fresh air, being out in the countryside, feeling a little bit of sun on me, then things just start to change. All of that negative emotion starts to melt away, and I feel really, really grounded. So that would be my first tip. And in conjunction with that, if you're out in nature and you're walking, or just even if you're sitting at your desk, there is a theory, and it's worked for me. Whether it works, for everybody else, I know is a different story. But one of the things I've noticed is when you are looking, let's say you're walking in nature, look as far as you can into the distance, onto the horizon. The furthest point that you can find to look away into the horizon, and you'll be really interested to see how you feel by doing that exercise. It is meant to alleviate depression. As I say, it's worked for me in the past, and I hope it works for you guys, but I just thought I'd mention that. If you're going to be out in nature, may as well take advantage, okay? So my second tip would be to look at banishing screen time, particularly an hour before bedtime. You need time for your brain to sort of calm down, and I think a lot of us are running around with dopamine receptors that are fried in our brain because we're too overstimulated. And that's got worse as a result of things like social media and, our phones always being on all of the time. So put your phone in grayscale mode. That would be one of the things I would suggest, because it gets rid of that sort of brightness and inviting of the color screen that we're all looking at. That will really help your brain to sort of calm down and relax a little bit. And as I say, banish that at least an hour before bedtime. And people go, oh my God, what do I do? I'm so used to looking at my phone before I fall asleep. Well, grab yourself a copy of Home by Secrets and have a read of that before you fall asleep. It probably won't send you to sleep. You'll probably get really excited about all of the things you're going to do with all the knowledge you've got, but at least it'll help you to stop getting overstimulated by looking at screens all the time. So that would be my second tip. Third tip is to cut your social media consumption. I do believe comparison is the thief of joy. And I think in today's society, unfortunately, there is so much where people are sharing photos or videos and they are all acting as though they really know what they're going on. And then when you start to talk to the people who are out there, who are the movers and shakers, they'll tell you they don't really have a first clue about what they're doing. They're just throwing a lot of stuff out there and, seeing what works and doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. Okay. And that's from some very, very high level people across the world who will share that with you. So I think one of the most tragic stories I ever heard about this sort of thing was a group of friends who were talking about one particular girl who they thought really had their life together because she had the model boyfriend and, all the designer clothes and the handbags and everything else, and was constantly out in all these different holiday destinations, with the photos on Instagram. And they were just like, oh my God, I wish that I was that person, because they were so drawn in by this person's story. And actually, I knew the truth of what was going on in this girl's life. And she unfortunately got an eating disorder. The relationship with the boyfriend wasn't good at all. So there was some things going on at home as well, which obviously I feel for anybody who's got problems going on at home. But the relationships that she had around her were not particularly helpful, let's put it that way. And a lot of all this sort of exotic lifestyle was being fueled by debt. And that situation was getting further and further and further into debt and causing her a lot of problems. And so not everything is quite as it seems on social media, and I think we all have to be really, really careful about trying to eliminate that as much as possible. So that would be my third tip. On that point, I would become a producer of social media. If you're in business or if you're trying to raise profile, become a producer of social media, not a consumer. Okay. Tip number 4 would be to reduce or cut out caffeine. And the reason I say that is because caffeine gives us an energy boost, okay, but largely it doesn't actually have any calories in caffeine. So if you take a cup of black coffee, for example, there is virtually 0 calories in that drink. And a lot of people will drink it because it has no calories. But the point is, if it's giving you energy and it has no calories, where is that energy coming from? And usually it's because of an overstimulated adrenal system, and it's overstimulating your body in such a way that it can lead to a sort of roller coaster ride of emotions and energy levels as you sort of get the stimulus because of adrenaline being pumped into your system, and then the caffeine wears off, you get the crash effect, so you have to have another cup of coffee to boost yourself back up again, and you can kind of ride this roller coaster of emotions all the way along. Apparently, there is also some research that suggests that where certain brands of coffee or certain coffee beans, where they haven't been dried properly in the harvesting process, apparently they can become quite moldy, and it's the mold that makes people jittery. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm not a coffee bean expert. To be honest with you, all I know is that certain coffees I can drink and I feel okay, and then other coffees I drink and I feel, an absolute nervous wreck. So I think there's a lot in that, whether it's the mold or whether there's something else going on, I'm not quite sure. But that's something to be thinking about. Also, if you go onto YouTube and Google, I think it's ABC News MRI scan or something like that, and you'll find in there they did an MRI scan on somebody who drank 2 cups of, who had 2 MRI scans and drank a cup of coffee in between, and they scanned the brain before and after the consumption of coffee, and they found, and this really freaked me out when I saw this. Okay, so just check it out and see what I'm trying to say. But what they found on these MRI scans was the second MRI scan showed that the amount of oxygen going to the brain was 40% less after the lady had drunk the coffee than it was beforehand. Now, whether that's the coffee, whether that's the MRI scanner, I'm not sure. But it did sort of freak me out a little bit, wondering what on earth was going on here. So just check that out. It's worth a look and make your own conclusion as to what you think that is. And finally, number 5, my top 5 tips here would be to get more high quality sleep. Okay. And we live in this society that's 24 hours, always on, kind of emails wherever you go, notifications wherever you go. And our bodies don't get the chance that they used to sort of repair, to switch off, to rest. And if you go back, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years ago, people wouldn't have this constant overstimulus. You'd have maybe 4 TV channels to watch. You'd have the newspaper, you'd have books. You certainly wouldn't be carrying a phone in your pocket where you could access all of the information in the world at the flick of a button. And that, I think, has not served us in a lot of ways, because there's this kind of addiction that's running with people and their phones. And so your body and your brain, more importantly, needs time to reset and relax and unwind and process the events of the day. And if you're not getting enough high quality sleep, that can actually be detrimental to your body in terms of the repair and healing process, and also the ability of your brain to actually process what's going on in the day. And in fact, I think there's some studies that suggest that if you go without sleep, well, it's torture techniques, isn't it? If you go without sleep for like 3 or 4 days, that is enough to almost send people mad. So you need to be really careful about, getting the right quality sleep. It is good quality sleep. I'd recommend blackout curtains, definitely, to try and block out as much light as possible from entering the room, so that you can have a really, really good, decent night's sleep. Obviously, you should block out as much noise as possible, and also to get your bed as comfortable as possible for the sleep. So a good quality duvet and good quality pillows, really, really good to help you get a really decent night's sleep. So hopefully that's been really useful, but I thought it was so important to do it. As I say, I know a lot of people are struggling with it, so I just wanted to share with you the things that have worked for me. and hopefully they're going to be useful for you guys as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed tuning in. As always, if you've got any questions, any concerns, any comments, any feedback that you want to give us, send it through to us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. I'm going to continue doing these webinars. I absolutely love them. I get a lot of excitement actually in the lead up to doing these webinars and answering all these questions and seeing what you guys are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It can be a minefield out there without the right people to go to sort of turn to for advice and everything else. But we're here to help and support as many people as we can. We've got the teams behind us who can help and support you as well. So if it's things like finding a conveyancer, if it's things like your searches, if it's things like your sellers packs, anything like that, then we're here to help and support you as much as we can. So I'm going to say goodbye at that level, guys. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on another webinar very soon. Thanks indeed for your attention, and good luck and goodbye.